The Skull Merchant is Dead by Daylight's most infamous killer, arguably the most hated in the entire game's history. Skull Merchant is seen as a blight on the entire game, that she should just be deleted and removed from the game entirely. But after looking at her again, I have to just disagree. After playing her more and just reading up more about her, I really feel like the Skull Merchant is Dead by Daylight's most underrated killer. First off, let's just look at her design. Her design is amazing, really. It is one of a kind. There is no other killer who looks like her, with a bedazzled mask, a giant gaudy weapon, and that walking animation. Oh my god. She is truly one of a kind. There is no killer who does it like she does. Her looks really do make her stand out of Dead by Daylight's clustered crowd of faceless killers, but still manages to look fashionable, especially with that giant bedazzled gas mask. Compare that to, say, Trickster, or, Trapper, Hillbilly. Like, boring. Look at this. So much better. It's just, why would we ever play any of these killers when we have this? And then we get into her lore, and it is arguably one of Dead by Daylight's best pieces ever. Her backstory is just very emotionally driven. It is so powerful. It really shows off all the nuances to her character. It really just sucks you into the story, like how they bring in her father and how he mysteriously goes away and it just never brought up again or anything like that. It's just so amazing. I just love it. Her backstory is phenomenally well written. Her character has so many flaws, like it just really makes you feel like this is a fleshed out, amazing character that just is so strong and smart and a perfect killer. Like, it mentions how smart she is and how rich she is and how she manages to never get caught despite, leaving a literal paper trail like of 20 people and somehow still manages to never really get caught because, she's just that amazing. She's just that smart. She is truly the best killer Dead by Daylight has ever offered. And then we get to the actual Skull Merchant, which is her father's manga, which is just an amazing plot point to go off of to become a villain. Like, oh, she kills because the Skull Merchant does stuff, which is, some other things that the Skull Merchant does, and she's really evil. Like, it's just a perfect parallel to her character. It's just such a phenomenal plot point. And then we get to, obviously, the most important part of any killer or character in any game, and that's actually how they play. And I am positive to say that Skull Merchant's power is one of the best, if not arguably the best power in all of Dead by Daylight in every capacity. See, when you place down a drone, you have to think very, very, very carefully on where you want it to go, because compared to every other killer in the game, Skull Merchant takes a lot of planning to actually play this character. It's not someone simple like Blight or Wesker or Singularity who can just, willy-nilly use their power whenever you want. No, with Skull Merchant, you actually have to think about where you want to place your drones and make sure that, they're going to rotate in a good angle because, it slowly rotates left or right, counterclockwise or clockwise. So you have to think about, do I want this drone to be going one way or the other whenever you place it down in a loop? Because, it's not like you can just place it right down in the middle of a loop and it does everything for you. No. It takes a lot of brain power, unlike Singularity, placing down a camera and it covers like 2 entire maps worth of space. And then for the survivors, it's just as fun to play against. I mean, when you go up to the drone to disable it, you have to play this cool little like mini game where you have to push the buttons in a certain order in order to not mess up, or else you activate the drone again and you get marked. No other killer has a sort of mechanic like this, so it makes her really unique again because, of course, she is the most underrated killer in all of Dead by Daylight. Playing her takes a lot of practice, time investment, and skill. She is by far one of the hardest killers to play in the entire game, and this is reflected in her drones, which give you a massive payout for the amount of thinking you have to do when placing down a drone. When a survivor is fully marked and they, get the claw trap on them, they become broken, which means, they get punished for not, seeing the giant red beams that cover the entire loop. No, that's on them. That's their fault. Along with, if they're already injured, they become deep wounded. So dead hard, don't have to deal with that no more. And of course, that's not the end of it. Along with that, you also get guaranteed tracking, meaning that those pesky survivors won't, get lost while you're chasing them. You'll always find a way to find them. See, Wesker can't do anything like that, Blight can't do anything like that, but Skull Merchant, she gets a huge payoff for the amount of complex, massive, computer brain thinking you have to do. It makes Singularity look like an idiot. It makes Singularity look so dumb compared to professional Skull Merchant players who have to think 20 billion calculations per second on how to put their drone in this specific loop. And then she also gets haste because, this killer does lack map mobility. She doesn't have any sort of teleports or dashes because who needs that? Those powers suck. They've never been good. But Skull Merchant, these drones, they take so much brain power that it makes up for her having no lack of mobility by giving her haste. Because, she needs it. Well, actually, I wouldn't even say she needs it, because she's already, such an amazing killer if you're good with her, that she doesn't need haste. But of course, we'll take it anyways, as a pity compensation for the amount of brain power we need, where it crushes Skull Merchant players' brains using this complex power. And then of course, when a survivor is fully scanned and gets scanned again, they become hindered. This is obviously because Skull Merchant is such a smart killer that she figured out a way to make her drone slow them down. Probably related to the claw trap doing something to their arm, making them run slower, because of course, she's just that smart of a killer. Skull Merchant isn't really played a lot and liked a lot because people just can't accept how much of a gigantic, learning curve this killer has and how complex, how deep her kit is. It's just impossible for the average player to understand how to play Skull Merchant. Like, no one understands it. But me, on the other hand, I've been playing her way more, and after playing her so much, my third eye has been unlocked. I now understand how to play Skull Merchant and why she's actually just so underrated. She has such a phenomenal design that everyone likes to look at. It's just so beautiful. Her animations are great. Her weapon is badass. Her design, her lore is so heart-wrenching. It makes Shakespeare look like it was written by monkeys. It is so phenomenal. All the character development and how her character changes over time and how many flaws she has to overcome. It's just a heart-wrenching ballad. And then of course, her power that only 1 out of 10 billion people can master. Skull Merchant truly is an amazing killer. Skull Merchant is an awesome, powerful, revered killer that is intense to go against and has a loving, caring backstory, but she's also fearsome and strikes fear to the heart of her enemies. She's an outstanding killer with an amazing design, an original, amazing design, but most of all, she requires you to be locked in and smart when you're playing her. I really do feel like Skull Merchant is just the most underrated legend in the entirety of Dead by Daylight, and more people need to be playing her. This is Donut Boy signing off. Take care of yourselves and have a damn good one. Peace.